Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday's Devotional. Thanks for joining me. I want to just jump into this because I think we're all living in these uncertain times. And I begin to think that there's always uncertain times. This just seems maybe more extreme. But there's a verse in the Bible that I have a love-hate relationship with that I'd like to share with you. And then maybe you can talk about it when this devotional is done with your friends, your spouse, your small group, about how does this work in your life. It's a love-hate relationship with a scripture. It's found in James, and this love-hate relationship, it's many times more hate than love, and it's one of those scriptures I think makes more sense in hindsight than it does while we're going through uncertain times. Let me read it to you. It's James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4. This might be familiar to some of you, and for others, this may be the first time you're hearing it. But this is what James says. He says, this is the wisdom of Scripture. Consider it all joy. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. Okay? What am I going to consider pure joy, brother, sister? What is it? Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds. Well, that makes no sense at all. I don't want trials. I don't want hard times. This is what it says. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because, and then here's the promise, but I don't want to get to the promise through trials. It says, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Now, I want to be a person that knows how to persevere, and I want to be a mature person. And for those of you that know me, you know that's a big challenge for me to be mature. But we want to be complete. We want to grow. We want to lack in nothing. That's the promise, that as we go through trials, that we can consider that a joyful thing, because look at what the outcome's going to be. Well, I wrote down a few reasons why I don't like this scripture, or I've struggled with the scripture, and I've actually talked to some people too about why they struggle with the scripture. I had a friend say, I don't like that scripture because when I was a kid, whenever I was going through a tough time, my mom would say, consider it all a joy. It doesn't really help when you're going through it. I think we struggle with getting to this place of perseverance and maturity and lacking in nothing because we don't like pain. We're human. We all go through trials, but we don't like pain. I think another big one here is we like control. We want to control things. And when we're going through trials, many times we're not in control. And yet the writer of Scripture says, consider it joy. I think I've struggled with the scripture because of bad theology. Growing up going, well, if you do all the right things will happen. But we didn't realize that bad things happen to good people. Many times while I'm going through trials, I lose the joy because I forget the promise of the rest of the scripture. And I forget to ask the most important question while I'm going through trials. What am I learning through this? Where can I come out at the other end a better person, a more wise person? I think during this time of isolation and uncertainty, it's not fun. Nobody wants this. We're so eager to get out and be with one another. But I think if we just take the time to say, what am I learning through this? Are we learning to be still? Are we learning to reprioritize our finances, saying, you know, when things get back to quote normal, I want to be wiser with my finances. Now I want to spend more time with those that I love. I don't want to just get back into this busy, hurried world. Whatever it is, I think many times it's during those times of trials, that's where we grow. Troubles and problems are inevitable. And unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, it's where we grow. I usually don't grow nearly as much or learn nearly as much when I'm going through good times. Now, I'm grateful for good times, and I will celebrate good times, but The scripture says, consider it joy. And I think to consider trials joyful, we have to remember the promise is we will grow in perseverance. We will lack in nothing. We will mature. And that's God's desire for every human, is that we would just grow up and mature. There's nothing worse than meeting somebody that's in their 60s and they're acting like they're still a teenager. We're called to mature, and that's the promise if we're willing to go through trials and trust God. But what I'm learning too is this is a lifetime journey. I don't have this mastered. It's a lifetime journey, and it's a retrospective journey, meaning I usually am more joyful after the fact and realizing, wow, looking back at some of those trials and challenges, God was at work in my life, and he did mature me. I didn't realize it at the time. So sometimes the joy happens after the fact. Anyway, I hope this encourages you today to know that as humans, we go through trials, but God promises to grow us, to teach us and grow us in perseverance and strengthen us, mature us so that we will lack in nothing. I'll close with this. I wrote this about a year ago, way before all of this was going on in our world, but I was wrestling with this scripture. And I was probably at kind of a time where somebody had told me, hey, you know, God turns all things together for good for those who trust him. And I get that, but I wasn't in the mood to hear it. And then I had other people maybe looking at me and judging, saying, why are you going through trials? What did you do? And I had to hold on to the scripture, but I realized that this is a daily decision. I wrote this, it's called The Battle. Don't quit, keep going. Boy, it's easy to say, but words fall flat at the end of the day. Don't quit, keep going. It's an interesting theory. While trials, troubles, tragedies keep our lives dreary. Don't quit, keep going. I'd love to finish my race, I really would, but I'm tired and sad, and it's another day I must face. Don't quit, keep going, the preacher extols, but pain and discouragement have taken its toll. Why don't you quit? My friend says. Why don't you give up? You must have sinned. You must have messed up. Why don't you quit? My friends say. Why try? They tell me life's unfair. Curse God and die. But then I look at people who've endured so much. They inspire me to keep going with their compassionate touch. They cry real tears. Their joy deep and real. They don't allow the wise to ruin the deal. They allow their hearts to break, not putting on an act. They say in this world there will be sorrow. That is a fact. Life's fragile on our own. We're easily broken. But it's also been said that trials won't be the last word spoken. Let me say that again to you. Trials won't be the last word spoken. Consider it all joy, the scripture says. Well, I'm not there yet, but I've made up my mind. I'm not going to quit. It's one day at a time, guarding my heart from disillusion, finding strength from others, and making God's love my foundation. So this week, remember the ancient words. Don't get weary in doing right. Joy comes in the morning for those who endure the night. Two realities I often straddle. Choosing which one is a lifetime battle. Thanks for joining me today, and I pray this is a blessing to you as we all, as humans, go and are facing uncertain times, that we would allow God to grow with us, and not doing it alone, but God will grow us as we do this together in community. May God bless you.